Hey guys, tonight we're taking a journey back in time, not to the familiar fields of European peasants or the sun-drenched terraced farms of Asia, but to a truly unique and breathtaking agricultural marvel that once sustained one of the largest cities in the ancient world. We're venturing to the heart of the Aztec Empire, to its magnificent capital, Tenochtitlan, and quietly exploring the ingenious floating gardens known as chinampas. Imagine, if you will, gliding in a small canoe through a labyrinth of narrow waterways surrounded by lush, vibrant green islands teeming with corn, beans, chilies, and flowers, all seemingly floating on the surface of a vast lake. The air is thick with the scent of fertile earth and blossoming plants, humming with the buzz of insects and the distant murmur of a thriving metropolis. For the Aztecs, these weren't just farms. They were a testament to their profound ingenuity, their deep connection to their watery environment, and the very foundation of their imperial power. And let me tell you, if you were an Aztec living in Tenochtitlan, you probably wouldn't survive a single season without the incredible bounty produced by these floating farms. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're listening, let me know where you are in the world and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see how far these sleepy stories travel now. Dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Our story begins in the Valley of Mexico, a high-altitude basin surrounded by towering volcanoes, and at its center, a series of interconnected lakes. It was here, amidst these waters, that the Mexica people, who would come to be known as the Aztecs, founded their legendary capital, Tenochtitlan. In 1325 CE, the traditional narrative, rooted in Aztec prophecy, states that they were to build their city where they saw an eagle perched on a prickly pear cactus, devouring a snake, a powerful symbol that is still featured on Mexico's flag today. This seemingly inhospitable, watery environment, however, would become the canvas for one of the most productive and innovative agricultural systems in history. The Aztecs faced a monumental challenge: how to feed a rapidly growing population, which would eventually swell to hundreds of thousands, possibly 1 million people, all living on an island in the middle of a lake. Traditional agriculture, with its reliance on rain-fed fields, simply wouldn't suffice. Their solution was the chinampa, a system so efficient and ecologically sound that it's still studied by agricultural scientists today. MAINSTREAM. Historical fact is that chinampas were artificial islands built in the shallow lake beds, essentially rectangular raised fields separated by canals. They were constructed by alternating layers of mud dredged from the lake bottom, decaying vegetation, and sometimes human waste, creating incredibly fertile soil. This ingenious method allowed the Aztecs to transform a seemingly unproductive wetland into highly productive farmland. Imagine building entire farms out of mud and organic matter, all literally floating on water. The genius of the chinampa system lay not just in its creation, but in its sustained fertility. The surrounding canals provided a constant source of moisture for the crops, eliminating the need for irrigation systems dependent on rainfall, and allowing for multiple harvests per year. Furthermore, the nutrient-rich mud continually dredged from the canals and layered onto the chinampas acted as a natural fertilizer, maintaining the soil's incredible productivity without the need for synthetic chemicals. It was a self-sustaining agricultural marvel. The Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, built in the middle of Lake Texcoco, was truly a city on the water. It was connected to the mainland by massive causeways, and a network of canals crisscrossed the city, serving as vital transportation arteries for canoes laden with goods, people, and, of course, the bounty from the chinampas. The city itself, with its grand temples, bustling markets, and orderly residential areas, was an urban masterpiece, supported by the quiet hum of activity from its surrounding floating gardens. A quirky tidbit that emphasizes the scale of their urban planning. Some Spanish conquistadors, upon first seeing Tenochtitlan, compared it to Venice, but often remarked that it was even grander and more beautiful, with its orderly canals and lush chinampas. Imagine arriving by boat to a sprawling city of floating farms, temples, and palaces, shimmering in the sunlight. It must have been an absolutely awe-inspiring sight for anyone accustomed to European cities. Historians still argue about the exact proportion of Tenochtitlan's food supply that came directly from the chinampas versus other forms of agriculture in the surrounding valley. While undoubtedly crucial, some scholars believe the chinampas alone couldn't have fed the entire population, suggesting a complex system of tribute and trade also played a vital role. Regardless, their unparalleled productivity in a watery environment remains undisputed. As you begin to drift, imagine the gentle lap of water against the edges of a fertile island, the quiet rustle of growing corn, and the ingenious rhythm of life on the floating gardens of Tenochtitlan, easing you into a long, undisturbed sleep. Having set the scene for the ingenious chinampas and their vital role in sustaining the magnificent Aztec capital, let's now truly understand the unique geography of Tenochtitlan's setting, a sprawling metropolis built not merely by a lake, but truly on a lake. Imagine standing on one of its broad causeways, looking out at a city seemingly floating on water, its canals acting as bustling streets. and its very foundations a testament to human adaptation and engineering prowess. This wasn't just a city, it was an aquatic marvel, a human-made island connected to the world by sheer ingenuity. Tenochtitlan was founded, as legend has it, on a small island in the western part of Lake Texcoco, a vast, shallow, and somewhat saline lake in the Valley of Mexico. This lake system was part of a larger basin encompassing several interconnected lakes with varying salinity. Lake Texcoco itself was a brackish body of water, posing a unique challenge for a city that would grow to house hundreds of thousands, if not a million people. The choice of location, while rooted in prophecy, presented immense logistical hurdles. Building a major city with its heavy stone temples, palaces, and residential structures on a marshy island in a shallow lake required an unprecedented level of civil engineering. The Aztecs didn't just build on the island, they expanded it, creating dry land from the lake itself. This expansion was achieved through a process of infilling using sediment, rocks, and organic matter to extend the original island's footprint. A mainstream historical fact is that Tenochtitlan was crisscrossed by a vast network of canals that served as the primary arteries for transportation. Instead of streets, imagine wide waterways bustling with thousands of canoes, ferrying people, goods, and raw materials throughout the city. This made the canoe an indispensable form of transport, allowing for efficient movement of heavy loads, like building materials, food from the chinampas, and tribute from conquered territories. It was like a Venice, but on a grander scale, with every resident owning a boat instead of a car. Connecting this island city to the mainland were massive causeways, wide earthen dams reinforced with stone and wood. These causeways served as crucial lifelines, allowing foot traffic, goods, and armies to move in and out of the city. They also played a vital role in the complex water management system, acting as partial dikes that separated the freshwater springs closer to the city from the saltier outer reaches of Lake Texcoco. Imagine long, wide roads built directly across a lake, teeming with people. The city's very fabric reflected its watery environment. Buildings were often constructed on piles driven into the lakebed, providing stable foundations. Public spaces, like the grand ceremonial precinct at the city's heart, were designed with drainage in mind, incorporating systems to manage rainwater and lake water. The central location of the city also made it a strategic hub, easily defensible and ideally positioned for controlling trade and tribute across the valley, a quirky tidbit that emphasizes their ingenuity in adapting to their environment to manage the fluctuating water levels of Lake Texcoco, which could be prone to both floods from mountain runoff and rising salinity from evaporation. The Aztecs built complex dikes and sluice gates. One famous example was the dike of Nezahualcóyotl, a massive 16-kilometer-long levee that separated the freshwater sections of the lake from the saline parts, protecting Tenochtitlan from flooding and ensuring a supply of fresh water near the city. It's like building a giant, ancient flood barrier around your entire city, complete with adjustable gates, just to keep your water supply pure. The constant interaction with the lake also meant that the city was intimately connected to its natural resources. The lake provided fish, waterfowl, and reeds for building materials. The very mud from its bottom was the raw material for the chinampas. This sustainable relationship with their environment was a cornerstone of Tenochtitlan's longevity and prosperity. Historians still argue about the precise population figures for Tenochtitlan at its peak, while Spanish accounts often provide very high estimates, hundreds of thousands, even up to 1 million. Modern scholarly estimates vary, ranging from 150,000 to 300,000, making it one of the largest cities in the world at the time. Regardless of the exact number, it was a massive urban center, and its existence was inextricably linked to its aquatic setting and the chinampas that flourished within it. So, as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the vast, shimmering expanse of Lake Texcoco, dotted with green islands and crisscrossed by bustling canals. Picture the city rising majestically from the water, a testament to human ingenuity and adaptation. The gentle lapping of water, the soft murmur of canoes, and the profound rhythm of life on the lake. These were the unique realities of Tenochtitlan, gently easing you into a deep, water-cradled slumber with the magnificent setting of Tenochtitlan, a city born from and sustained by water. Firmly in our minds, let's now plunge into the practical brilliance behind its sustenance. The step-by-step chinampa creation process. Imagine yourself an Aztec farmer, not simply planting seeds in the ground, but literally building your fertile earth from the lake bed up, a painstaking yet incredibly rewarding act of engineering. This wasn't farming as we typically envision it. It was land creation, a testament to ingenious resourcefulness. The construction of a chinampa began in the shallow, freshwater areas of Lake Texcoco, typically in depths of a few feet. The first step involved marking out a rectangular plot, usually around 10 to 30 feet wide and 100 to 300 feet long. These dimensions allowed for efficient management from a canoe and ensured good sunlight penetration. Next, a critical material was gathered: mud and decaying vegetation from the lake bottom and surrounding marshy areas. This rich, dark mud, teeming with organic matter and nutrients, was the secret to the chinampas' incredible fertility. Imagine scooping up thick, black earth from the lake bed, perhaps using simple baskets or woven mats, a laborious process that simultaneously deepened the surrounding canals. This dredged material was then layered onto the marked plot, gradually building up a raised bed above the water level. Layers of mud, reeds, aquatic plants, and even human and animal waste acting as natural fertilizer would be carefully piled up. This layering process was repeated over time as the materials settled and compacted, slowly forming a stable, elevated farming platform. It's like building a giant, rectangular compost heap, but in a lake, and with incredible precision. A mainstream historical fact is that to prevent the newly formed island from eroding or washing away, the sides of the chinampa were typically reinforced with stakes driven into the lake bed and interwoven with reeds and branches, creating a natural retaining wall. Over time, these living walls would root and stabilize the structure, creating a remarkably durable and resilient agricultural system that could withstand the gentle movements of the lake. Once the chinampa bed was stable and raised above the water, it was ready for cultivation. The constant proximity to the lake water was key. The roots of the plants grown on the chinampa would reach down into the underlying water, absorbing moisture directly. This natural capillary action meant the chinampas were self-irrigating, largely eliminating the need for manual watering, even during dry spells. This was a profound advantage over rain-fed agriculture. The canals separating the chinampas served multiple functions. They were, of course, the arteries for transportation, allowing canoes to move easily between the plots, ferrying farmers, tools, and harvested crops. But crucially, they were also a continuous source of that nutrient-rich mud, which could be periodically dredged and layered back onto the chinampas, constantly replenishing their fertility. It was a perfectly circular, sustainable system, where the very act of maintaining the canals fertilized the farms. A quirky tidbit that demonstrates the meticulous planning involved. Some chinampas were reportedly slightly sloped or had subtle variations in height to allow for optimal drainage or water absorption for different types of crops. This fine-tuning shows a sophisticated understanding of hydro-agriculture and plant needs, adapting the floating garden to suit specific cultivation requirements. It's like designing a very precise drainage system for your garden, but on a grand scale and without any power tools. The creation of new chinampas was an ongoing process as Tenochtitlan's population grew. The expansion of these floating fields steadily transformed the watery landscape around the city into a patchwork quilt of lush green islands, a vibrant testimony to human ingenuity and a symbiotic relationship with their environment. Historians still argue about the precise timeline for the development of chinampas. While basic forms might have existed earlier, the large-scale, highly organized system supporting Tenochtitlan likely evolved over centuries, representing a culmination of accumulated knowledge and collective labor. What's clear is that they were a fundamental innovation enabling the unique urbanism of the Aztec capital. So, as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the rhythmic work of Aztec farmers scooping rich mud, weaving reeds, and carefully constructing their fertile islands. From the very lake itself, the gentle splash of water, the rustle of reeds, and the quiet satisfaction of shaping the land to meet their needs. These were the peculiar rhythms of chinampa creation, gently easing you into a deep earth and water cradled slumber. The astonishing productivity of the chinampas, those meticulously crafted floating gardens, wasn't just due to their clever construction. It was fundamentally tied to their inherent fertility secrets, a continuous cycle of natural replenishment driven by the very environment they were built upon. Imagine a farm that never needed artificial fertilizers, that constantly renewed its own rich soil simply by drawing from the surrounding waters. This was the genius of the chinampa, a truly sustainable agricultural marvel based on the intelligent use of mud, waste, and water. The primary secret weapon of the chinampas was the nutrient-rich mud dredged from the bottom of Lake Texcoco and its canals. This mud was not just ordinary dirt. It was a treasure trove of decaying organic matter, ancient plant debris, aquatic organisms, and sediments, all packed with essential nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, vital for plant growth. As the canals were periodically cleaned and deepened for navigation, this precious mud was systematically layered onto the chinampa beds. This constant reapplication ensured the soil remained incredibly fertile. Year after year, century after century, without depletion. It's like having an infinite supply of organic, slow-release fertilizer constantly bubbling up from the ground. Complementing this rich mud was another crucial ingredient: human and animal waste. The Aztecs, like many ancient agricultural societies, understood the value of organic fertilizers. Waste from the dense urban population, along with animal manure, would have been collected and deliberately incorporated into the chinampa layers. This added another potent source of nutrients, further enriching the soil and boosting crop yields. While it might sound a bit unappetizing to us, it was a practical, highly effective way to recycle nutrients within their ecosystem. A mainstream historical fact is that the chinampas system's exceptional fertility allowed for multiple harvests per year, sometimes up to 7, far exceeding the productivity of traditional rain-fed agriculture. This was due to the constant moisture provided by the surrounding canals and the continuous replenishment of nutrient-rich soil. This intensive productivity was critical for feeding the vast population of Tenochtitlan. Land yielding bountiful crops almost year-round, simply by drawing on the natural resources around it, the water itself, from the surrounding canals, was not just for irrigation. It was an integral part of the fertility cycle. The capillary action we discussed meant that water constantly wicked up from the canals into the chinampa soil, keeping it moist. But the water also carried dissolved nutrients and organic matter, further enriching the beds. Furthermore, the canals often teemed with aquatic life, fish, amphibians, insects whose waste and decaying bodies also contributed to the nutrient load, creating a remarkably self-sustaining and biodiverse ecosystem. A quirky tidbit that reveals the depth of their understanding. The Aztecs reportedly practiced a form of seedbed planting or floating nurseries on the canals themselves. Tiny miniature rafts made of reeds and mud would be used to germinate seeds. Once the seedlings were strong enough, they would be carefully transplanted to the chinampa beds. This method allowed for optimal germination conditions and a head start for the crops, further boosting productivity and ensuring healthy growth. It's like having a floating greenhouse that nurtures your plants from seedling to full maturity. The chinampa system was, in essence, a perfectly balanced ecological machine. The act of maintaining the canal's dredging for navigation simultaneously fertilized the farms. The abundant water provided constant irrigation. The rich organic matter from the lake and waste products fueled continuous growth. It was a closed-loop system, a testament to sustainable agriculture centuries before the concept was even named. Historians still argue about the exact chemical composition of the chinampa soil and the precise mechanisms that led to its unparalleled productivity. While the general principles of nutrient cycling are clear, the specific microbial processes and long-term soil dynamics are still subjects of ongoing scientific study, revealing new insights into their ancient genius. So, as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the rich, dark mud, the flowing water, and the vibrant life teeming within the chinampa system, constantly renewing itself. The earthy scent of fertile soil, the gentle shimmer of water, and the quiet hum of a perfectly balanced ecosystem. These were the fertility secrets of the floating gardens, gently easing you into a deep, nourishing slumber, free from the worries of depleted soil, with the chinampas' ingenious construction and their secrets of perennial fertility now clear. Let's bring their purpose to life by exploring the very crops grown on these floating gardens. Imagine a vibrant patchwork of green, teeming with plants that were the very staples of the Aztec diet, providing sustenance for a massive urban population. This wasn't just diverse farming. It was the foundation of an empire, a careful cultivation of plants that fueled their society from the humblest household to the royal palace. The most vital crop, the undisputed king of the chinampas, was maize corn. Like in much of Mesoamerica, maize was the cornerstone of the Aztec diet, providing essential carbohydrates. On the chinampas, multiple varieties of corn would have been cultivated, taking advantage of the constant moisture and rich soil to produce impressive yields. Imagine tall stalks of corn swaying gently in the breeze, their ears heavy with golden kernels, a constant source of life. Alongside maize, beans were another crucial staple, often grown as a companion plant to corn, a practice known as the Three Sisters in many indigenous American cultures. Also including squash, beans provided essential protein and complemented the nutritional profile of maize. Their roots also helped to fix nitrogen in the soil, further contributing to the chinampas' fertility. Imagine climbing bean vines, intertwining with corn stalks, creating a dense, productive canopy. Squash and pumpkins were also widely cultivated, providing a rich source of vitamins, minerals, and versatile food. Their broad leaves would help shade the soil, reducing water evaporation and suppressing weeds. Other vegetables included chilies, capsicum, which were ubiquitous in Aztec cuisine for flavor and preservation, as well as tomatoes, amaranth, a highly nutritious grain-like plant, and various greens. The chinampas essentially functioned as highly efficient organic vegetable gardens on a grand scale. Historical fact is that the chinampa system allowed for intensive polyculture, meaning multiple different crops could be grown simultaneously on the same plot, often in staggered planting cycles. This maximized yields, diversified food sources, and enhanced ecological resilience, as different plants could thrive in different conditions and provide mutual benefits. It was a sophisticated form of intercropping, ensuring every square foot of the chinampa was producing food. Beyond staple foods, chinampas were also used to cultivate a variety of other plants. Flowers, both for ceremonial purposes, offerings to gods, temple decoration, and for personal adornment, were grown in abundance. The Aztecs had a deep appreciation for beauty, and the vibrant colors of chinampa-grown flowers would have added splashes of splendor to the city. Medicinal plants and herbs were also likely cultivated, providing remedies for various ailments, demonstrating their practical application of botanical knowledge. A quirky tidbit that showcases their meticulous seed-starting practices. The Aztecs reportedly used a sophisticated method of creating seed beds on floating mats, sometimes called almacigos flotantes. These small mats, woven from reeds and covered with a thin layer of mud, would be placed on the canals. Seeds would be sown on them, and once the seedlings sprouted, they would be carefully transplanted to the larger chinampa beds. This allowed for precise control over germination and a high success rate, ensuring every plant had the best possible start. It's like having a very efficient floating nursery for your crops. Centuries before modern hydroponics, the continuous availability of fresh water from the canals meant that crops on the chinampas could be grown almost year-round, unconstrained by seasonal rainfall. This allowed for a constant supply of fresh produce to the markets of Tenochtitlan, a stark contrast to rain-fed agriculture, which often yields only 1 or 2 harvests. This consistency was vital for feeding such a large urban population. Historians still argue about the precise varieties of each crop grown on the chinampas and the specific methods of rotation or companion planting used. While archaeological evidence and colonial accounts provide general information, the nuanced details of their agricultural science are still subjects of ongoing research. So, as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the lush greenery of the chinampas teeming with life. The rustle of corn leaves in the gentle breeze, the vibrant colors of chili peppers, and the earthy scent of fertile soil. These were the vital crops that fed an empire, gently easing you into a deep, nourishing slumber, surrounded by the bounty of ancient agriculture. The very existence and astounding productivity of the chinampas, those meticulously crafted floating gardens, were inextricably linked to a monumental achievement of the Aztec civilization: their sophisticated water management system. Imagine a vast city rising from a lake, its very survival dependent on an intricate network of canals, dikes, and sluice gates, all designed to control the volatile forces of water, ensuring fresh supplies for drinking and agriculture, and protection from destructive floods. This wasn't just engineering, it was a constant, grand-scale negotiation with nature. Tenochtitlan was built in Lake Texcoco, which, as we've discussed, was part of a larger, interconnected lake system in the Valley of Mexico. The challenge was multifaceted. The lake's water level could fluctuate dramatically due to seasonal rains and runoff from surrounding mountains. Moreover, parts of the lake were brackish or saline, which was unsuitable for drinking or chinampa agriculture. The Aztecs needed to maintain a fresh water supply for their city and farms, while simultaneously protecting themselves from inundation. Their solution was a remarkable feat of hydraulic engineering, a series of massive dikes and dams. The most famous of these was the Nesohualcoyotl dike, named after the ruler of Texcoco who commissioned it. This immense dike, stretching for about 16 kilometers, around 10 miles across Lake Texcoco, was built from earth and stone, reinforced with wood. It effectively divided the lake into two sections, a western freshwater section closer to Tenochtitlan and fed by freshwater springs, and an eastern saline section. This separation was crucial for maintaining the quality of water needed for the chinampas and the city's inhabitants. A mainstream historical fact is that the Nesohualcoyotl dike featured a sophisticated system of sluice gates that could be opened or closed to control water flow. These gates allowed fresh water to enter the western section, while preventing saline water from the eastern part of the lake from contaminating the chinampas. They also served as floodgates, allowing excess rainwater to be released safely, protecting Tenochtitlan from devastating floods. Imagine a colossal, ancient water valve operated. The water management system wasn't just about agriculture and flood control. It was also crucial for sanitation. The fresh water near Tenochtitlan was used for drinking and bathing, while the saltier outer lake areas could help carry away waste. This thoughtful approach to water resources contributed significantly to the health and sustainability of the vast urban center. Historians still argue about the precise technologies used for building such massive hydraulic structures, particularly the Nesohualcoyotl dike. Given the lack of complex machinery, it's believed to have been built primarily through immense manual labor, using locally available materials like earth, stone, and wood, showcasing the incredible organizational power of the Aztec state. So, as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the vast lake meticulously managed by ancient engineers, its waters flowing precisely through a network of canals and past towering dikes. The gentle murmur of controlled water, the distant splash of a canoe, and the quiet rhythm of a city living in harmony with its watery world. These were the wonders of Aztec hydraulic engineering, gently easing you into a deep, water-regulated slumber. The very existence and astounding productivity of the chinampas, those meticulously crafted floating gardens, were inextricably linked to a monumental achievement of the Aztec civilization: their sophisticated water management system. Imagine a vast city rising from a lake, its very survival dependent on an intricate network of canals, dikes, and sluice gates, all designed to control the volatile forces of water, ensuring fresh supplies for drinking and agriculture, and protection from destructive floods. This wasn't just engineering. It was a constant, grand-scale negotiation with nature. Tenochtitlan was built in Lake Texcoco, which, as we've discussed, was part of a larger interconnected lake system in the Valley of Mexico. The challenge was multifaceted. The lake's water level could fluctuate dramatically due to seasonal rains and runoff from surrounding mountains, leading to devastating floods. Moreover, parts of the lake were brackish or saline, which was unsuitable for drinking or chinampa agriculture. The Aztecs needed to maintain a fresh water supply for their city and farms, while simultaneously protecting themselves from inundation. Their solution was a remarkable feat of hydraulic engineering, a series of massive dikes and dams. The most famous of these was the Nezahualcóyotl dike, named after the ruler of Texcoco who commissioned it. This immense dike, stretching for about 16 kilometers, around 10 miles across Lake Texcoco, was built from earth and stone, reinforced with wood. It effectively divided the lake into two sections: a western freshwater section closer to Tenochtitlan and fed by freshwater springs, and an eastern saline section. This separation was crucial for maintaining the quality of water needed for the chinampas and the city's inhabitants. A mainstream historical fact is that the Nezahualcóyotl dike featured a sophisticated system of sluice gates that could be opened or closed to control water flow. These gates allowed fresh water to enter the western section, while preventing saline water from the eastern part of the lake from contaminating the chinampas. They also served as floodgates, allowing excess rainwater to be released safely, protecting Tenochtitlan from devastating floods. Imagine a colossal, ancient water valve, operated with immense precision to manage an entire lake. The vast network of canals crisscrossing Tenochtitlan and the Chinampa zone also formed an integral part of this water management system. These canals not only served as transportation routes, but also as the arteries for the chinampas, providing constant moisture and serving as a source for the nutrient-rich mud used to fertilize the floating gardens. The careful planning of these channels ensured optimal water flow and nutrient cycling throughout the agricultural zones. The constant maintenance of this system was a monumental undertaking, requiring continuous dredging of canals to keep them navigable and to provide fresh mud for the chinampas. The dikes and gates needed regular inspection and repair to ensure their integrity, especially during the rainy season. This collaborative, ongoing effort speaks volumes about the Aztecs' organizational capabilities and their profound understanding of their watery environment. A quirky tidbit that showcases their ecological awareness. The Aztecs sometimes built check dams or small barriers within the Chinampa canals themselves to slow the water flow in certain areas, allowing sediment and nutrients to settle, making it easier to collect for fertilizer. This demonstrated a nuanced understanding of hydrological processes and nutrient deposition, maximizing the fertility of their system. It's like having miniature, carefully placed sediment traps within your irrigation channels to concentrate all the good stuff. The water management system wasn't just about agriculture and flood control. It was also crucial for sanitation. The fresh water near Tenochtitlan was used for drinking and bathing, while the saltier outer lake areas could help carry away waste. This thoughtful approach to water resources contributed significantly to the health and sustainability of the vast urban center. Historians still argue about the precise technologies used for building such massive hydraulic structures, particularly the Nezahualcóyotl dike, given the lack of complex machinery. It's believed to have been built primarily through immense manual labor, using locally available materials like earth, stone, and wood, showcasing the incredible organizational power of the Aztec state. So, as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the vast lake meticulously managed by ancient engineers, its waters flowing precisely through a network of canals and past towering dikes. The gentle murmur of controlled water, the distant splash of a canoe, and the quiet rhythm of a city living in harmony with its watery world. These were the wonders of Aztec hydraulic engineering, gently easing you into a deep, water-regulated slumber, having marveled at the grand engineering of the chinampas and the vast water management systems. Let's now quietly zoom in on the human element, understanding the rhythm of chinampa labor, the daily farming life that brought these floating gardens to vibrant productivity. Imagine yourself as an Aztec farmer waking with the dawn, the cool morning mist rising from the canals, and stepping into a routine dictated by the demands of constant cultivation. This wasn't seasonal work. It was a year-round, meticulous, and highly rewarding endeavor. The day for a chinampa farmer would begin early. The rising sun would illuminate the lush green plots, and the air would soon be filled with the sounds of morning, the distant calls of waterfowl, the gentle lapping of water, and the soft sounds of daily preparations. Unlike farmers reliant on unpredictable rainfall, the chinampa farmer had the luxury of constant moisture, meaning planting, tending, and harvesting could occur almost continuously. The primary tool for navigating the chinampa landscape was the canoe. Imagine a small, stable craft, expertly paddled through the narrow canals, carrying the farmer, their tools, and eventually their harvested crops. The canals were their roads, allowing efficient access to every part of their floating fields. This made farming less physically arduous in terms of walking long distances, but required skill in paddling and navigating the watery labyrinth. A typical day's tasks would be incredibly varied and hands-on. farmers would spend hours on their plots, meticulously tending to the crops. This involved planting seeds, often from the floating nurseries we discussed earlier, carefully transplanting seedlings, weeding by hand to ensure optimal growth, and protecting plants from pests. The constant fertility of the chinampas meant that the soil rarely needed to lie fallow, allowing for intense, continuous cultivation. A mainstream historical fact is that the chinampa system allowed for multiple crop cycles per year, often yielding up to 7 harvests annually for certain crops. This intensive farming required continuous labor, as one crop might be harvested while another was just being planted in an adjacent section of the same chinampa. This staggering of crops maximized productivity and ensured a steady food supply. For the urban markets, imagine a never-ending cycle of planting, growing, and harvesting, keeping you busy every single day. One of the most vital and frequent tasks was dredging the canals. This wasn't just for navigation. It was the key to the chinampas' sustained fertility. Farmers would regularly scoop the rich, nutrient-laden mud from the canal bottoms and layer it onto their chinampa beds. This organic fertilizer constantly replenished the soil, eliminating the need for extensive fallow periods and ensuring continuous high yields. Imagine scooping up thick, black mud by hand, knowing you were literally building and sustaining your farm with every shovelful. A quirky tidbit that showcases their ecological awareness. Chinampa farmers reportedly practiced a form of companion planting or intercropping, where different plants that benefited each other, like corn, beans, and squash, would be grown together on the same plot. This not only maximized space and yield, but also improved soil health and reduced pest issues, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of plant ecology. It's like having a perfectly harmonious mini ecosystem on every one of your floating beds. Beyond their incredible productivity and economic impact, the chinampas of Tenochtitlan also represented a remarkable achievement in ecological balance, showcasing a truly sustainable system that worked in harmony with its watery environment. Imagine an ancient civilization creating a vast agricultural network that not only fed hundreds of thousands, but also simultaneously improved its surrounding ecosystem, rather than depleting it. This was regenerative agriculture centuries before the term was even invented, a testament to the Aztecs' profound understanding of their natural world. Unlike many forms of agriculture that exhaust soil nutrients over time, leading to erosion and degradation, the chinampa system was inherently self-renewing. Its core principle involved the continuous dredging of nutrient-rich mud and organic matter from the surrounding canals and layering it onto the raised garden beds. This process constantly replenished the soil's fertility, eliminating the need for extensive fallow periods or synthetic fertilizers. The canals in turn, were kept clean and deep for navigation. It was a perfect, closed-loop system where waste became resource and maintenance fueled productivity. A mainstream historical fact is that the chinampas created a unique and highly biodiverse aquatic ecosystem within the lake. The canals themselves became rich habitats for aquatic life, including various species of fish, amphibians, and waterfowl. These animals not only contributed to the overall biodiversity, but also played a role in the chinampas' fertility, as their waste and decaying bodies added to the organic matter in the mud. The fields is teeming with life, contributing to the farm's productivity. The constant water source from the canals meant that the chinampas were self-irrigating through capillary action, significantly reducing water waste compared to rain-fed or flood-irrigated fields. This efficient use of water, especially in a region prone to seasonal droughts, underscored the sustainability of the system. It was farming without relying on unpredictable rainfall or extensive human-powered irrigation. The chinampas also played a role in water purification, as organic matter and sediments settled in the canals. The plants growing on the chinampas and along their edges could absorb excess nutrients, helping to naturally filter the lake water. This contributed to a healthier aquatic environment around the city, indirectly benefiting public health. A quirky tidbit that demonstrates their ingenuity in integrated pest management. It's believed that the Aztecs may have intentionally introduced or encouraged certain aquatic animals into the chinampa canals, not just for food, but also to help control insect populations or consume unwanted plant growth. This early form of biological pest control, working with nature rather than against it, further solidified the system's ecological balance. It's like having tiny, natural pest control specialists swimming through your irrigation system. Furthermore, the chinampas help to stabilize the lake bed and prevent erosion, which could have been a significant problem for a city built on a marshy island. The root systems of the plants and the interwoven stakes acted as natural anchors, holding the soil in place and preventing it from washing away into the deeper parts of the lake. Historians still argue about the precise long-term environmental impact of the chinampa system on the entire Lake Texcoco basin. While the chinampas themselves were remarkably sustainable, the overall impact of a massive urban center like Tenochtitlan on its surrounding environment would have been complex. However, the chinampas undeniably represent one of the most ecologically sophisticated pre-industrial agricultural systems ever developed. So, to drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the gentle current flowing through the chinampa canals, the vibrant life teeming beneath the surface, and the continuous cycle of growth and renewal. The earthy scent of healthy soil, the cool moisture in the air, and the quiet hum of a perfectly balanced ecosystem. These were the ecological marvels of the floating gardens, gently easing you into a deep, sustainably peaceful slumber. The immense productivity and ecological brilliance of the chinampas weren't just a testament to Aztec agricultural genius. They were deeply interwoven with the very fabric of social structure, defining the lives of the farmers and their relationship with the powerful Aztec Empire. Imagine a vast imperial state, its might fueled not just by conquest and tribute, but by the diligent, skilled labor of countless farmers who cultivated their floating gardens, forming a crucial pillar of the society. Chinampa farmers. While perhaps not at the very top of the social hierarchy, which was dominated by warriors, priests, and nobility, held a remarkably stable and respected position within Aztec society. Their work was indispensable. Unlike many peasant farmers in other parts of the world who might have been tied to the land or subject to feudal lords, Chinampa farmers effectively owned and managed their plots, passing them down through generations. This gave them a significant degree of economic independence and security. Recognizing their vital contribution to the capital's sustenance, a mainstream historical fact is that Chinampa farming was often organized at the Calpulli level. A Calpulli was a basic Aztec social unit akin to a ward or a neighborhood, often composed of families linked by kinship or common occupation. These Calpulli would collectively manage sections of the Chinampas, ensuring their maintenance, dredging the canals, and coordinating the distribution of produce to the urban markets. This communal organization fostered strong social bonds and shared responsibility among the farming communities. It was like a very large, well-organized farmers' cooperative, where everyone had a vested interest in the collective success. The relationship between the Chinampa farmers and the Aztec state, represented by the powerful Tlatoani, or emperor, and the ruling elite, was one of mutual dependence. Though with clear power imbalances, the state provided the overall infrastructure. The massive dikes and causeways that protected the Chinampas and ensured fresh water access. In return, the Chinampa farmers contributed to the empire's wealth through taxes or tribute, often in the form of agricultural produce or labor on public works projects. They fed the empire, both literally and figuratively. The continuous bounty of the Chinampas allowed the Aztec ruling class to maintain a large, well-fed population in Tenochtitlan, including artisans, merchants, warriors, and priests who were freed from direct food production. This specialization of labor was a hallmark of complex societies and a direct consequence of the Chinama's efficiency. Imagine a bustling city where most people aren't farmers, because a specialized group of agriculturalists can feed them. A quirky tidbit that reveals the strictness of their land management. While chinampa plots were hereditary, they couldn't be sold or permanently transferred outside the kaupuli without special permission. This ensured the chinampa land remained productive and within the community that had the expertise to maintain it. It's like having very strict zoning laws for agricultural land, specifically designed to protect its unique productivity. The seasonal and daily rhythms of chinampa labor, while demanding, fostered a deep connection to the natural world and a profound sense of self-sufficiency within the farming communities. They lived close to their plots, often with their homes built right on the chinampas, experiencing the direct rewards of their tireless work. Their lives were interwoven with the cycles of planting, growing, and harvesting. Historians still argue about the precise degree of social mobility for chinampa farmers. While their economic stability was notable, rising into the absolute highest ranks of Aztec nobility was likely rare. However, their essential role in the empire's survival undoubtedly granted them a respected and influential position within their own communities and in the broader social structure. So, as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the gentle hum of daily life on the chinampas, the communal efforts of the kaupuli, and the quiet rhythm of farmers sustaining a vast empire. The rustle of corn leaves, the distant murmurs of a thriving community, and the profound connection between the land, its people, and the power of the state. A deep, socially organized slumber, the intricate system of chinampas, and the vast city of Tenochtitlan itself were not isolated marvels. They were interconnected by an indispensable network of transport networks, primarily relying on canoe commerce. Imagine the bustling waterways of a city built on a lake, not with cars or even horse-drawn carts, but with thousands upon thousands of canoes, silently gliding through canals, forming the very arteries of trade, communication, and daily life. This aquatic transportation system was as vital to the Aztec capital as roads were to any land-based metropolis. The canals that separated the chinampas were not merely agricultural boundaries. They served as the primary thoroughfares for movement and trade throughout the chinampa zone and into the heart of Tenochtitlan. Farmers would load their freshly harvested produce directly onto their canoes and paddle them to market. Artisans transported their finished goods, building materials, tribute from conquered territories, and even people themselves moved across the city and valley by water. A mainstream historical fact is that the canoe was the primary mode of transportation for both goods and people within Tenochtitlan and across the interconnected lake system of the Valley of Mexico. This made the city incredibly efficient for internal logistics and external trade. as heavy loads could be transported easily by water, far more efficiently than by human porters over land, as the Aztecs did not use wheeled vehicles or draft animals. Imagine a bustling highway of canoes, constantly moving, carrying everything from staple foods to exotic luxuries. The vast central marketplace of Tenochtitlan was a hub of this canoe commerce. Goods would arrive daily from the chinampas and from distant parts of the empire via the lake and canal network, making it one of the largest and most diverse markets in the ancient world. The efficiency of the canoe system ensured a constant supply of fresh produce and a wide variety of other commodities, supporting the city's complex economy. Beyond the movement of goods, canoes were also essential for daily life. People used them to visit friends and family in different parts of the city, to attend ceremonies, or simply to move between their chinampa homes and the more urbanized areas. Children would learn to paddle canoes from a young age, just as children today learn to ride bicycles, a quirky tidbit that demonstrates the meticulous organization of their waterways. Archaeological evidence and Spanish accounts suggest that certain canals might have been designated for specific types of traffic, or even had traffic rules to ensure smooth flow, particularly in busy areas leading to the central market. Imagine a prehistoric canal system with its own version of one-way streets or designated lanes for different types of cargo, all managed without traffic lights. The upkeep of this extensive canal network was a continuous, communal effort. Regular dredging was necessary not only to provide mud for the chinampas, but also to keep the channels navigable for canoes. This collaborative maintenance was essential for the entire system to function, highlighting the communal organization of Aztec society. Historians still argue about the precise number of canoes that would have been active on the lakes and canals of Tenochtitlan at any given time. Spanish accounts often describe thousands, painting a picture of an incredibly busy and vibrant aquatic city. While precise figures are hard to verify, the sheer scale of the city and its reliance on water transport suggests an immense fleet of these crucial vessels. So, as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the gentle ripple of water as thousands of canoes glide silently through the canals, carrying the lifeblood of an empire. The distant murmur of market activity, the rhythmic splash of paddles, and the profound connection between water, commerce, and daily life. These were the unique realities of Aztec canoe commerce, gently easing you into a deep, smoothly flowing slumber within the vibrant, watery landscape of Tenochtitlan. Nestled amongst the fertile chinampas and crisscrossed by bustling canals, existed unique forms of dwelling, the chinampa houses. Imagine not just farming on a floating garden, but actually living on it. your home rising gently from the cultivated earth, surrounded by your crops and the soft lapping of the lake. This created a distinctive lifestyle, blending the rhythms of agriculture with the immediacy of lakeside living, a truly unique form of human settlement. Chinampa houses were typically built directly on the chinampa plots themselves, or sometimes on small, slightly larger platforms at the edge of a chinampa, close to a main canal. They were not grand, multi-story structures like the palaces and temples in the city center. Rather, they were practical, sturdy homes designed to withstand the humid environment and provide comfort for farming families. Construction materials would have been primarily local and readily available. Walls were often made of adobe, sun-dried, bricks of mud and straw, or wattle and daub woven branches plastered with mud, providing good insulation against heat and cold. Roofs would typically be thatched with reeds or palm leaves, offering protection from rain and sun. These natural materials blended seamlessly with the verdant surroundings, making the houses feel like an organic extension of the chinampa itself. A mainstream historical fact is that chinampa houses were generally single-story structures, often with a central courtyard or open space common in Mesoamerican architecture, allowing for ventilation and outdoor work areas. While simple, they were designed for the needs of a farming family, providing shelter, storage for tools and harvested crops, and space for daily activities. Imagine a cozy, earthy home, perfectly adapted to its watery setting, surrounded by your livelihood. Life in a chinampa house would have been intimately connected to the cycles of farming. You would wake with the sun, the sounds of your crops growing just outside your door. The canals would be your immediate neighbors, bustling with canoes, carrying other farmers or produce to market. Your front yard might be a small plot of flowers. In your backyard, the rest of your chinampa, continuously producing food. A quirky tidbit that highlights their unique adaptation. Some chinampa houses might have had small, personal docks or mooring points right outside their doors, allowing canoes to tie up directly to the house. This emphasized the seamless integration of water transport into their daily lives, making every journey a direct departure from home. It's like having a drive-through at your house, but for boats and vegetables. Despite their simple construction, these homes were undoubtedly cherished spaces filled with the warmth of family life. The interior would be humble but functional, with mats for sleeping, cooking areas, and perhaps simple shelves for storing personal belongings and pottery. The sounds of daily life, cooking, conversation, the laughter of children would mingle with the sounds of the chinampas themselves, the rustle of corn, the buzz of insects, the gentle lapping of water. The spatial arrangement of chinampa houses, spread across the floating islands, created a unique form of decentralized urbanism, different from the dense, multi-story buildings found in the ceremonial core of Tenochtitlan. It was a balance between agricultural efficiency and residential living, allowing farmers to live directly on their productive land. Historians still argue about the precise demographics of chinampa residents. Were they primarily extended families or smaller nuclear units? How stable were these populations, and how much interaction did they have with the urban core of Tenochtitlan? While colonial accounts and archaeological evidence provide some clues, the nuances of their daily social lives are still subjects of ongoing research. So, as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the earthy comfort of a chinampa house, its thatched roof blending with the green of the gardens, surrounded by the gentle sounds of the lake, the soft rustle of leaves against the walls, the distant murmur of canoes, and the quiet rhythm of a life lived in harmony with the water and the land. These were the unique realities of living on the floating gardens, gently easing you into a deep, water-lapped slumber. The remarkable ingenuity of the chinampas and the thriving aquatic city of Tenochtitlan, as we've explored, represented a pinnacle of pre-Columbian civilization. Yet, this intricate balance of human innovation and ecological harmony was tragically and abruptly shattered by the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors, leading to the rapid decline of the chinampas. Imagine a vibrant, living landscape suddenly encountering a force utterly alien to its delicate balance, leading to its slow, irreversible unraveling. This was not a gradual shift. It was a violent collision of worlds, with devastating consequences for the floating gardens. The arrival of Hernan Cortes and his Spanish forces in 1519, and the subsequent conquest of Tenochtitlan in 1521, marked the beginning of the chinampas' demise. The immediate impact of the conquest was catastrophic. The siege of Tenochtitlan involved intense fighting, the destruction of large parts of the city, and severe disruption to its hydraulic systems, the dikes, causeways, and canals, vital for maintaining the chinampas' freshwater environment, were damaged or intentionally destroyed during the conflict. A mainstream historical fact is that the Spanish conquistadors, upon conquering Tenochtitlan, systematically dismantled much of the Aztecs' sophisticated water management system. Their priority was to create a new Spanish city, Mexico City, on the ruins of the Aztec capital, adapting it to European urban planning ideals. This involved draining parts of Lake Texcoco and filling in canals to create dry land for European-style streets and buildings. This direct interference with the hydraulic infrastructure was a major blow to the chinampa system. The Spanish also brought with them new agricultural practices and introduced new crops and animals that were unsuitable for chinampa cultivation, or put pressure on the existing system. The introduction of large grazing animals like cattle and sheep, for instance, trampled delicate chinampa beds and consumed vegetation, causing significant damage. The Spanish preference for European farming methods, often ignoring indigenous techniques, contributed to the neglect and eventual decline of many chinampa areas. Furthermore, the indigenous population, including the skilled chinampa farmers, suffered catastrophic declines due to disease brought by the Europeans, such as smallpox, warfare, and forced labor. With fewer skilled hands to maintain them, the labor-intensive chinampas gradually fell into disrepair. The intricate cycle of dredging and layering mud, vital for their fertility, was interrupted, leading to their eventual degradation. A quirky tidbit that demonstrates the Spanish misunderstanding of the chinampa system. The Spanish initially saw the chinampas not as ingenious agricultural marvels, but as swamps or marshy ground that needed to be reclaimed and drained. This fundamental misinterpretation of the ecosystem led to policies that actively worked against the chinampas' natural functionality, hastening their destruction. It's like seeing a beautifully designed water feature and deciding it would be better as a dry, dusty patch of dirt. The gradual drying out of Lake Texcoco, a process that continued for centuries after the conquest, also contributed significantly to the chinampas' decline. As the lake shrank, many chinampa plots were left without their constant water source, losing their self-irrigating properties and becoming unusable for intensive cultivation. The ecological balance that had sustained them for so long was fundamentally altered. Historians still argue about the precise rate and extent of chinampa decline in the immediate aftermath of the conquest versus a more gradual process over centuries. While the initial impact was devastating, some chinampa areas did persist for a long time, adapting to changing conditions. However, the golden age of widespread, productive chinampa agriculture was undeniably brought to an end by the Spanish conquest and its subsequent policies. So, as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the once vibrant, floating gardens slowly succumbing to neglect, their intricate channels silting up, their fertile beds drying out. The gentle lapping of water, once a sound of life, now giving way to the quiet encroachment of dry land and the distant echoes of a grand civilization's unraveling. These were the tragic realities of the chinampas' decline, gently easing you into a deep, historically reflective slumber. Section 14. Despite the devastating impact of the Spanish conquest and centuries of neglect, the story of the chinampas does not end in complete obliteration. In a remarkable testament to their resilience and ingenious design, modern chinampas still exist today, a small but vibrant surviving legacy in the sprawling metropolis of Mexico City. Imagine discovering a hidden pocket of ancient agricultural wisdom still thriving amidst the concrete jungle, quietly demonstrating the enduring brilliance of a forgotten civilization. It's like finding a living fossil, a tangible link to a world long past, still producing food in its original, ingenious way. The chinampas that survive are primarily located in the Xochimilco borough, in the southern part of what is now Mexico City. This area was originally part of the vast lake Xochimilco, one of the freshwater lakes in the Valley of Mexico that was somewhat less impacted by the Spanish drainage efforts than Lake Texcoco. Here, a network of canals and chinampa plots has persisted, maintained by generations of local farmers. These modern chinampas function much like their ancient counterparts. Farmers continue to dredge nutrient-rich mud from the canals, layering it onto the raised beds to maintain fertility. They cultivate a variety of crops, including corn, beans, chilies, leafy greens, and a wide array of flowers, which are then transported by canoe to local markets, much as they were centuries ago. A mainstream historical fact is that the chinampas of Xochimilco represent the last remaining active remnants of the ancient Aztec floating garden system, continuously cultivated for centuries and providing a unique living heritage. However, the surviving chinampas face significant challenges in the modern era. Urban encroachment, pollution from untreated wastewater, and declining water levels due to the city's increasing demand for water all threaten their existence. Despite these pressures, local communities, along with conservationists and cultural heritage organizations, are working to protect and revitalize these precious agricultural landscapes. A quirky tidbit that highlights the enduring cultural significance of Xochimilco. The canals are also famous for their brightly painted, flat-bottomed boats called trajineras. While once primarily for transporting produce, today they are mostly used for recreational tours, ferrying tourists and locals through the chinampa landscape, often accompanied by mariachi bands. This lively tourist scene exists right alongside the quiet, ongoing agricultural work of the chinampa farmers, creating a unique blend of ancient tradition and modern leisure. It's like a living museum, but you can actually eat the exhibits and listen to music while you float by. Efforts to preserve the Xochimilco chinampas are not just about protecting a historical curiosity. They are about recognizing the immense ecological and agricultural wisdom embedded in the system. The chinampas are incredibly productive, require minimal external inputs, and contribute to biodiversity. They offer valuable lessons for sustainable agriculture in a world facing growing food security and environmental challenges. Historians and environmental scientists still argue about the long-term viability of the Exoquimilco chinampas in the face of rapid urbanization and climate change. Can this ancient system adapt and survive in a drastically altered modern environment, or are its days numbered despite conservation efforts? The debate underscores the fragile balance between preserving heritage and confronting contemporary pressures. So, as you drift deeper into the quiet, imagine the peaceful canals of Xochimilco, the vibrant green of the chinampas still producing food, and the distant sound of a passing trajinera. The gentle splash of water, the rustle of corn, and the quiet resilience of an ancient ingenuity still thriving. These are the enduring realities of modern chinampas, gently easing you into a deep, quietly hopeful slumber as our journey through the remarkable world of Aztec floating gardens, the chinampas, draws to its tranquil close. We are left with a profound sense of fading channels and a quiet, yet incredibly vibrant legacy. Imagine the sun setting over the serene waters of Xochimilco, casting long shadows over the meticulously tended plots, the sounds of distant canoes softly echoing across the water. This isn't just a tale of ancient farming. It's a profound meditation on human ingenuity, ecological harmony, and the enduring power of a sustainable relationship with the land and water, the chinampas. From their ingenious creation out of lake mud and reeds to their astounding multi-harvest productivity, represent one of the most sophisticated pre-industrial agricultural systems ever devised. They allowed the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan to flourish into one of the world's largest cities, feeding hundreds of thousands with a constant supply of fresh produce. This complex integration of agriculture, urban planning, and water management was a true marvel of its time. Think about the sheer depth of knowledge required to build and maintain such a system. The understanding of hydraulics to manage lake levels, the botanical wisdom to cultivate diverse crops, and the communal organization to sustain continuous labor, all passed down through generations, making the chinampas a living library of ancient ecological wisdom. They are a powerful reminder that sustainable agriculture is not a new concept, but one with deep roots in human history, a quirky reflection of their ingenuity. And a final, charming tidbit: the very act of cultivating chinampas actually improved the local environment, acting as a natural water filtration system and creating rich biodiversity in the canals. Unlike many modern farming practices that can deplete resources, the chinampa system was regenerative, a testament to a true symbiosis between humans and their ecosystem. It's like their farms were also giant, beautiful water purifiers, silently working wonders for the lake. The legacy of the chinampas extends beyond their historical significance. They continue to offer valuable lessons for contemporary challenges. From urban food security to sustainable land use and ecological restoration, their resilience, evident in the surviving plots of Xochimilco, serves as a quiet inspiration for those seeking harmonious ways to feed a growing population without destroying the planet. Historians and environmentalists still argue about the full potential of re-implementing chinampa-like systems in modern contexts. Given the dramatic changes in global hydrology and climate, while a full-scale return to chinampas might not be feasible, the principles of their integrated, regenerative design offer crucial insights for future agricultural innovation. As the sun dips below the horizon in your own quiet space, imagine the gentle lapping of water against the chinampa edges, the quiet rustle of corn leaves, and the profound sense of harmony between land and water. The soft splash of ancient canoes, the distant murmurs of a bustling, thriving city, and the enduring brilliance of